Well, given the noise in the room and the energy, I think Noel and I are breaking up a party. Are we having fun? Yes. All right. We like that. That's what foreign policy is all about most of the time. Let me see. It's a little unstable here. Okay. Thank you, Noel. Thank you for those nice remarks. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the entire S.p.A. team, it is my great honor to welcome you all to our 2024 Financial Services Dinner. We've been back in person for a little bit of time now, so it feels very good to be talking to all of you in person, exchanging views, perspectives, and hopefully providing some ideas to change the world. This is always one of my favorite nights of the year. And the reason that's the case because of all of you. I come and meet so many people, have this dialogue with so many. And of course, I come from financial services, so I'm a little biased. A few other events at S.p.A. bring together such a diverse and impressive mix of business leaders, policy experts, diplomats, philanthropists, and public officials. My day job is a businessman. My night job with Noel is to try to be a foreign policy expert, which I'm not. But to many of you who are diplomats, I was a diplomat many years ago before the White House, the Organization of American States, and the United Nations. And I very much enjoyed my life at the time. But unfortunately, I lost my country of origin, so nobody wanted to adopt me. And in the U.S., of course, but it was too late. But we definitely value and commend all of you in the diplomatic community for the incredible work that you do to bring us all together and prevent disruption, wars, crisis. That's a big burden on your shoulders. Despite our jobs that are different, our backgrounds, our political views, we're all committed to advancing a deeper understanding of America's biggest foreign policy challenges and opportunities, and strengthening America's relationship with many countries in the world. At a moment of very intense polarization on seemingly every issue, the S.p.A. continues to set an example of what serious policy dialogue and debates should be and what they look like. I want to take this opportunity to thank Noel and the team at S.p.A. and the other people that supported for the extraordinary work that they have done to elevate and enrich the public discourse about our community of nations around the world. Noel was kind enough to mention my 2023 commencement address to the Stanford Graduate School of Business, where I graduated from. Last year was 40 years, so they thought it was a good idea to bring an older man to talk to the new generation of students. And it was a challenge, but I was able to connect somehow. One of the points I made in that speech is that snapshots in time can paint sometimes a misleading picture of long-term human progress. Such is the case today. So if you look at the 2023 Global Peace Index, which reported that, quote, 2022 was the deadliest year for armed conflict since the 1994 Rwandan genocide. And that was before the Hamas attack on Israel, which sparked the war in the Middle East. A week after the Hamas attack, my friend Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan declared that, quote, "This may be the most dangerous time the world has seen in decades." So U.S. policymakers face not only the wars in Ukraine and in the Middle East, but also rising tensions with China, violence and political instability throughout Africa and Latin America, and democratic backsliding across the globe in a year in which half of the democratic societies of the world are electing their officials. Meanwhile, the climate change dangers have become increasingly visible in every continent and every day. Some of you have noticed or seen the reports that I think we have 9 months straight of record of temperatures on the planet and counting. Yet, if we take a step back and look at the broader time frame in the history of the world, we are reminded that the world today is far more prosperous, healthy, and educated than it was in the 1980s, 1990s, to say nothing of the 1950s and 60s. Our past achievements do not diminish the challenges of this year and this time, but they do affirm that life has gotten significantly better for billions of people over the past few decades. This should make us more optimistic about our collective ability to solve big problems. I get asked when I travel around the world on my day job, what's going on in America? It seems like it's coming apart. It seems like it's a declining power that is not able to hold itself together, and so on and so forth. So I tell them, it probably looked worse than that in 1968. It probably looked a lot worse than that in 72, 73 during the Watergate hearings and the resignation of Richard Nixon. For sure, it looked pretty bad in 75 and 76 when many of us were standing in line for hours and hours just to get gas in our cars. It looked pretty bad in 79 and in 80 when the hostages were taken in Iran, and so on and so forth. America is a project. I love it when the European Union says we're still a project. America is a process of evolving. The good thing is that if we don't like our officials, we can throw them out. So don't sell America short. It's still a place of significant creativity, innovation, adaptability, and hopefully this country, in concert with all the other countries of the world, will help solve these problems. In my experience, all successful leaders have an unshakable belief in the future and a strong confidence that they will figure out the path forward to improve human welfare. I have never met a leader of a country, of an organization, of a business that has created enormous value and enormous breadth and depth of their organization that is not a believer in the future. Of course, progress never moves in a straight line. If it did, I think we could all of us could have retired a long time ago. We have challenges, and they are considerable. As we tackle these challenges, one thing I can assure you is that the S.p.A. will continue to play an indispensable role as a non-partisan forum for sharing, discussing, and refining the ideas that will drive the relationships among nations, especially between the U.S. and other countries in the world. For that matter, I would encourage you to read both copies of Great Decisions that were left on your bags, I think, along with The Power of Money by economist Paul Scheer. Can you stand up, Paul? At the cocktail party, I was bragging that I have been going to Japan since 1979, so 45 years. And of course, I was a toddler at the time, right? And Paul said to me, without really realizing, "Oh, I beat you. I was there since 1976. So he was a newborn at the time. All right, before I introduce Bruce Weber, I would like to congratulate our two other honorees, Giampiero Massolo and Bruce Van Saun. And with that, it's my enormous privilege and honor to introduce to all of you our first honoree, Dr. Bruce Weber, who serves as Dean of the Sickling School of Business at Baruch College here in our beloved New York City. Stand here, please, so everyone can see you. And no, just stand. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I gotta roast you here for a little bit longer. Reading his resume was a humbling experience because he combines such a wide range of skills, expertise, accomplishments, having lived in a few countries, studied in different universities, and so on and so forth. His academic credential includes a bachelor's degree in applied mathematics from Harvard. I can't resist to say the Stanford of the East. I'm a Stanford guy. You got to give me a break, right? Along with a master's degree and a PhD in decision sciences from Wharton at the University of Pennsylvania. Early in his career, he taught at the London Business School, New York University, and Sickling, where he became founding director of the Subotnick Financial Services Center. See, that's why you're getting the medal, financial services. He then returned to the London Business School, where he launched and chaired the Management Science and Operations subject area. After a decade in London, he became homesick, right? And he came back to the U.S. and spent 11 years as Dean of the Lerner College of Business and Economics at the University of Delaware. You probably know Mr. Biden very well then, right? Several meetings. In 2023, he came back to Sickling, which has more students than any other business school in America. In fact, as mentioned by Noel, 20 of those students are here with us tonight to cheer and support Dr. Weber, which is fantastic. Please, and another applause to the students. So over the course of Bruce's long and distinguished career, he has published 3 books and dozens of academic and business articles. He has also consulted for companies and institutions such as NASDAQ, the London Stock Exchange, and the U.S. Office of Technology Assessment. We need to include MSCI in that list at some point. Okay. A renowned scholar and true public intellectual, Bruce is a most worthy recipient of the S.p.A. medal. Please join me in congratulating him and cheering for him during the presentation of the medal. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Henry. If that's a roast, I'm really looking forward to when you pay me a compliment. That was wonderful. I appreciate it. And the chance to be here this evening and to be joined by 20 Zicklin students is really thrilling for me, and it's inspiring because I think there's so many good things that go on at Baruch College. And I joke with people at the school that back in July, I had my first day at the Zicklin School because I was on the faculty there for 3 years. And it was a wonderful time for me. We opened up what Henry mentioned, the Stuart Subotnick Financial Services Center, which, if you've ever visited campus, is a Wall Street-like trading room for educational purposes. So we have finance classes, statistics, accounting, computer information systems classes there, basically giving the students a chance to work with Bloomberg and FactSet and all the other financial data tools that are out there. But the real driving force for that trading room wasn't just the courses, but it was to get the visibility of groups like this, get the visibility of Wall Street firms to realize that Baruch produces students that become business leaders and that they're an eager, hungry, and humble bunch that are going to contribute wherever they get hired, wherever they join and go in their careers. And I had that feeling when I was there between 1999 and 2002, and it's what drew me back to Baruch and the Zicklin School this past summer. Higher education is really at a crossroads. If you look at what happened this fall on campuses at Harvard, at Columbia, University of Pennsylvania, MIT, it's a long list. There's a lot of lessons from the Foreign Policy Association that I think we as higher education administrators should pay attention to. How do you have civil discourse? How do you have a disagreement but still have a positive outcome? How can you work with people of alternative viewpoints and still progress together to a deeper understanding and probably a better outcome than if you stayed separate? And I think a lot of university leaders have learned we need to be even more even-handed, more open to dialogue and discussions, more of the learning from the Great Decisions courses that our students take at Zicklin and a number of other universities, because ultimately I think that's what enables the progress that Henry was pointing to over the last 20 or 30 years, standards of living, to continue to rise, to continue to advance, to enable people to have better standards of living, more freedom, more ability to work and thrive in this world we have. Now, I mentioned Baruch drew me back because of this very unique ethos there. It's a social mobility engine for the city of New York that's unrivaled. We've come out at the top of a number of different business school rankings that look at how quickly the students who get hired after graduating earn back their tuition. Believe it or not, the graduates of Baruch College earn their tuition back in less than a year. The undergraduate tuition is less than $7,000 a year. Those of you that are New York State residents, still have children in high school, give us a look. It's an amazing value, and you will make your parents very happy if they come to Baruch and study with us. And the reason we can do that is twofold. We're a public institution. We do get supported by the state and the city. But more importantly, we've been supported by our graduates. Our graduates give back to enable the current students to have resources that they wouldn't otherwise have. So people like Larry Zicklin, Max Berger, Stuart Subotnick, Bert and Sandy Wasserman, tremendous donors that enable us to provide a top-flight business education with resourcing that has to be augmented by that extra dose of philanthropy that comes in. So I'm a beneficiary of it, and the students even more so, the fact that our graduates give back to the institution. And the results are noticeable and impressive. As a business school dean, though, we face some real challenges in the coming years. There's so many technologies coming down the road, so many challenges facing business today. Things like governance, environment, sustainability, ethics, diversity and inclusion, huge topics. How do we deliver those topics to our students to enable them to be successful managers in the future? Artificial intelligence. How do we help our faculty work to teach our students to learn how to use AI in a responsible way, but also as a faculty member to understand that we don't want to be training students to do something that AI is going to be doing for us in 2, 3, or 4 years. And that's a real danger now. The tools that are out there today, as you may have read, are showing pass rates on things like bar exams, LSATs, GMATs, MCAT exams that put it into the 80th or 90th percentile among all test takers. So this is real, and this is technology that's going to change higher education, and I want to make sure our faculty are at the forefront of that. And I think we've got a tremendous group of faculty and students. I think we're providing an education that's second to none. We've gotten recognized in a number of rankings for the return on investment, but even the rankings that aren't factoring in tuition and outcomes, we're showing up in the top 50 in Bloomberg Business Week rankings. They ranked us 48th. U.S. News ranked us 49th. I don't know what they did wrong at U.S. News, because I think we deserve that 48th spot in both of them, but I'm looking forward to us moving even higher. And I think with the students that are here tonight, with the faculty we have, I think with the support we provide to them to become the greatest possible educators they can be, we're going to get there, and we're going to be a business school that the City of New York is tremendously proud of in the future. And I'm just thrilled to be the dean there and look forward to many good years in the role. Thanks, Noel.
Well, congratulations, Dean Weber. And I have to say that it's been a pleasure over the last 8 or so years to be an adjunct professor at the Zicklin School. That's full disclosure here. So now we're going to turn to Tom Michaud to introduce our next honoree. Tom is a long-serving board member of the Foreign Policy Association and the president and CEO of Keefe, Bruyette, and Woods. Tom.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you, Noel and Bruce and Henry, for your wonderful comments earlier this evening, and thank you to my colleagues for coming out and supporting our honorees, as well as the S.p.A. Tonight, I am pleased to present this year's Foreign Policy Association Medal, the highest honor bestowed by the S.p.A., and it's to Bruce Van Zon, Chairman and CEO of Citizens Financial Group. I've had the honor. Bruce, you're going to get more than one round of applause, I think, tonight. That was unexpected. That was just a random round of applause, so thank you. I appreciate that. I've known Bruce for over 20 years, and I'm really very fortunate to have him as a friend. Watching Bruce's career over the 20 years has been fun, because every time I look, he is doing something important for either his company or for the industry. And let me give you a few examples. In his 11 years as CFO of the Bank of New York, he helped create the largest custodial bank in the world. He worked on over 100 mergers and acquisitions, including the defining $16 billion acquisition of Mellon Bank Corporation. Then, in 2009, he was recruited by the UK government to help lead the rescue of one of Great Britain's national champion financial institutions, the Royal Bank of Scotland, where he served as a board member and group CFO. In 2014, after studying the parent company, after having been recruited to be CEO of RBS's U.S. banking subsidiary, Citizens Financial, he led the largest bank IPO in American history. Today, Citizens Financial has $222 billion in assets, making it the 14th largest bank in the nation. Under his leadership, along with his team, many of whom are here tonight and welcome, the bank continues to distinguish itself as one of the strongest banks in the nation, having made considerable investment in itself, technology, and its people to make sure that it remains one of the nation's leading financial institutions. Bruce is also a leading contributor to many industry associations and think tanks, and I think his efforts there are going to leave a lasting imprint on the industry. Let me also tell you a little bit about the list of prior winners of the Foreign Policy Association medal from the financial services industry. We've had Mayor Michael Bloomberg, Treasury Secretary Geithner, FDIC Chairman Sheila Bair, as well as ECB President Jean-Claude Trichet. And then one of the things that I like most about Bruce, and it came up again tonight, is that he never forgets where he came from. It's very hard to speak with him without hearing about New Jersey. And Bruce grew up about 26 miles from here. I went to Google Maps. And he lives about 26 miles from here right now. Just get him going about the Jersey Shore, and you'll get a little bit really ramped up. And you would think, with all going on in financial services, he and I wouldn't have to stop and talk about the Atlantic Ocean temperature in the Jersey Shore, which, by the way, we've done. So it's really an honor to see that he does not forget where he comes from. Now, I was a little tempted, by the way, to say that since he is chairman and CEO and he's from New Jersey, that he's the boss. But I don't think we want to hear him sing tonight. But please help me in welcoming Bruce Van Zaan to receive tonight's award. Congratulations.
Handshake.
Yeah. Congratulations. Thank you.
All right. Tom, thank you for your kind words and for your part in bestowing the honor. Much obliged. Tom's been a leading industry statesman for a long time, so he's an outspoken champion of banking and financial services and makes further contributions through institutions like the S.p.A. And I know throughout our long tenure together that when I need sage advice, Tom's somebody I can turn to. And you've really been helpful in our transformation at Citizens, so thank you for that, Tom. So let me start out by saying that I'm humbled to accept this S.p.A. medal. It's a great honor to be in the company of many noteworthy past recipients. I'm very grateful to the S.p.A. For the recognition, and I accept this not just on behalf of myself, but of the leadership team at Citizens and Citizens overall. I'd like to add a special thanks to Noel and to Henry for the great job they do here at the S.p.A. Also, I want to thank the board, advisory members, S.p.A. members, and friends, everyone who's here tonight to support the association and its mission. Really appreciate each of you being here this evening. So, never has there been a time when an organization like the S.p.A. has been more needed. we face a growing number of challenges around the world. So globalization has made our world smaller and more connected, which means we are now all very much involved in addressing international problems. We are close to them. They're in our media, they're in our news feeds, and they're very much a topic at the dinner table. Often these challenges are divisive, they're combative, they're even irreconcilable. There's many global pressing challenges. Think about it. There's conflict and security, there's the environment, there's healthcare, education, new technologies, including AI and digital currencies, to name just a few. And at the heart of many, if not all of these challenges, is our global financial system. How we operate, the standards and protocols that we set will determine how well we answer these challenges and the degree to which we are successful. Our actions, our policies, our influence cannot be underestimated. We bring collective wisdom, much of which we learned the hard way through many intense challenges that have made us smarter while becoming more resilient and adaptable. We have a desire to put that wisdom to work to help build the frameworks and institutions that ultimately drive broader global prosperity and success. But it's important to have a sense of humility in our approach if we're going to be effective. There are other profoundly important reasons for our commitment, involvement, and investment in global markets. These too have never been more apparent. We're in a new age where hostile political and militaristic countries, terrorists and fraudsters, bad actors and opportunists seek to exploit the systems which are lifelines to emerging economies. How responsive we are to the challenges that we face and how smart we are about taking them on will determine where things go. Our goal is to drive global alignment with free market and democratic values and behaviors, to nurture new businesses, new markets, and regions, supporting them as we all work together to build a brighter global future. In short, there's no longer a place for isolationism or exclusion. We are all connected through technology, marketplaces, and above all, our collective humanity. And that's what makes the S.p.A. increasingly vital. This organization provides us with a forum to work together, to collaborate and deliver the thinking and influence to make our world a better place for us, for our children, and for our grandchildren. Now, throughout modern history, American banks and financial institutions have played an enormous and significant role in establishing the global banking system. Previous economic systems were more often than not subject to the powers that controlled them and were less interested in true globalization, democratic values, and the mutual success of all parties. America's contributions to global financial systems, from the role of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, to support for the World Bank and the IMF, to our long history of investing in markets around the world, have shaped the landscape that we see today, propelling rising global economic prosperity. We are the world's largest economy and with the deepest and most transparent capital markets and the leading global trader. That makes us a key catalyst for growth and puts us in the position of responsibility for stewardship of both existing and new markets. The strong American banking system is well positioned to continue to drive growth and stewardship in 4 key ways. We have through innovation and influence on banking practices, by successfully operating within a stringent regulatory framework, through our leadership in capital markets, and by ensuring access and financial inclusion. I'm going to elaborate on each of these because I believe that these are areas where American banks don't just lead, but where we have the most to contribute. So first, American innovation and influence on banking practices. Innovation in our industry has been accelerating rapidly, and new technologies have both helped us improve our operational processes and expand into new markets and regions. We have developed the ability to do business in real time across every part of the world, enabling businesses and people to access capital and supporting governments in their efforts to improve the lives of their people. Digital and mobile banking, blockchain, open banking systems, payment processing and automation power new markets around the world. Innovations in fraud management, AML, and cybersecurity have made those markets safer. Now, Citizens has played our part in advancing innovation in financial services to the benefit of consumers. For example, through our Citizens Pay financing solution, we've pioneered new ways for people to pay for things at point of sale, including powering the back end of Apple's iPhone upgrade system for more than 8 years. Second, American banks drive responsible growth and stewardship by successfully operating under high regulatory standards. We have created an incredibly effective and resilient model for running a safe and sound financial system that powers our economy. This has proven durable over time through all kinds of economic cycles and events, and it is constantly evolving to learn from the past and to be ready to face the future. Our regulatory environment is not just a product of rules and oversight, it is about creating and maintaining a culture of responsibility and transparency within our organizations, our markets, and political and legislative bodies. For example, there's been a lot of discussion about the failure of 2 large West Coast banks last year. Most industry experts, analysts, and regulators have come to the same conclusion, that even in a scenario of depositor panic, the industry, the Federal Reserve Bank, and the regulators were able to quickly assess the situation and respond. It was a test of the underlying integrity of the system and a demonstration of resiliency. How we navigated those challenging waters is a testament to the flexibility of the system and our collaborative approach within the public and the private arenas. Many of the lessons learned in 2008 informed our preparation and our ability to respond quickly and effectively. And in the same way we evaluate and manage risk in the U.S. market, it is important that similar frameworks exist across global markets, both mature and emerging. Managing risk on a global scale and within expanding markets is an enormous task, and one which requires experience, collaboration, and vigilance. That means putting the best thinking from institutions and organizations, including the S.p.A., into action. Over my long career, I've had the chance to see firsthand how governments, regulators, and financial institutions can operate in flexible, adaptive, and creative ways to keep the financial system resilient. Those include my time at Bank of New York during the events of 9/11, the rescue and revival of RBS following the great financial crisis, and the most recent market turbulence following the bank failures. All big stresses and challenges, but all successfully handled. My third point concerns our global leadership in capital markets. U.S. capital markets are the largest in the world, accounting for roughly 40% of the 100+ trillion in global equity market cap. Our ability to link capital to innovation and drive growth has resulted in significant improvement in living standards and reduction in poverty levels across the globe. In 1950, about half the world was living in extreme poverty. In 1990, that fell to 38%. And just 30 years later, by 2019, the share of the global population living in extreme poverty decreased to about 8%. Great progress with more to go. We have a continuing responsibility to facilitate global economic growth and drive further improvement in living standards. Now, while our largest banks dominate the cross-border capital raising, we have a unique, diverse financial landscape in the U.S. that is a bedrock of our country's financial vitality. We have almost 5,000 insured depository institutions, along with a broad and diverse non-bank sector. As a result, almost everyone, anywhere in our country, has access to borrowing, capital, and banking services. Of note, regional banks, like Citizens, as a group, provide roughly 40% of loans to the small and medium enterprises in the U.S. My final point is about remaining steadfastly committed to access and financial inclusion. This is critical to the success of the global financial system. Global access and inclusion create the opportunities for ever more people to get on the economic ladder of success. Through access and inclusion, we gain partners and allies. Without it, developing nations and economies are subject to bad actors and ideologies hostile to democratic ideals. Those of us working downtown on 9/11, like Tom and I, understand just how harmful negative influences can be on emerging countries and populations. We have also seen firsthand the positive impact our work and contributions can have on those same people. Citizens is expert at helping businesses and consumers build wealth through savings, loans, and wise counsel that promotes smart financial growth. Our credo calls for us to help our customers, colleagues, and communities reach their potential. Viewing banking as a noble profession energizes our entire colleague base and me personally. Last year, Citizens volunteered over 232,000 hours, tops among the super-regional banks. These are broad efforts across our footprint, though we have increasingly focused on workforce development. Over the past couple of years, I have convened over a dozen events where we bring together many interested parties to broaden job opportunities: local governments, educational institutions, community partners, and companies struggling with tight labor supply. The result has been a surge in programs that upskill folks in low and moderate income communities and place them in good quality jobs that are in many cases life-changing. Very important work and very gratifying. These 4 points I have been sharing, the drivers of growth and stewardship of global financial markets, make important contributions far beyond ensuring the strength and integrity of global financial systems. They help drive outcomes which impact global conflict, global health, global education, global arts. The list goes on and on. I've been privileged to have a 35-plus year career in financial services firms in the US and the UK of various shapes and sizes. I've worked for and with many great people and interacted with many policymakers across governments, central banks, regulators, and thought leaders like the S.p.A. What all these folks have in common is a sense of accountability and stewardship for building and maintaining a safe and strong financial system that drives economic growth and rising living standards for all. We accept that responsibility for doing our best, 24/7, 7 days a week, to deliver ever more for our stakeholders. It's challenging work, but it's exhilarating as well when you can see the impact that it delivers for people and for society. So everyone in this room has a part to play in our shared future. I know you wouldn't be here if you weren't already on board with the mission. So let's keep raising the bar, seeking new ways to be even better and more impactful. So in closing, thank you, S.p.A., for this tremendous honor. It means a lot to me personally and to the people of Citizens Financial Group. Thank you.
Congratulations, Bruce. Thank you for those superb remarks. At this time, I would like to invite Fred Kemp, President of the Atlantic Council, to formally introduce Ambassador Massolo.
It is such an honor to be here. Noel, Henry, before I introduce the honoree, I do want to mention something that is a moment of enormous history. Today, the Prime Minister of Sweden, the Foreign Minister of Sweden were in Washington. And Sweden formally today became a member of NATO after 200 years of neutrality in answer to the aggression of Putin and to the promise and the capabilities of our alliance. So I would ask that the Consul General of Sweden, Ambassador Camilla Melander, stand, and I think we should applaud this historic moment. So I understand, and thank you so much, Ambassador, and Sweden. I just hope Sweden remains as great as an ally inside NATO as it's been outside NATO, because what an incredible contribution you've played globally to peace and security. I'm told one reason S.p.A. is presenting its Medal of Honor to Ambassador Giampiero Massolo is in recognition of his efforts to achieve the immutable objective of improving the world around us. The immutable objective of improving the world around us. No doubt Mundys, where he is chairman, is achieving that through its extensive infrastructure projects throughout the globe, partially and particularly through its environment and ESG goals. And I'm confident Giampiero will address those. What he won't talk about much, because I've known Giampiero for a very long period of time, and he's an incredibly modest individual who's achieved incredibly immodest goals, is he will not talk about himself, and so I'm going to do that. And his achievements in his career are truly remarkable. It's fitting that Ambassador Massolo, my dear friend, an Atlantic Council International Advisory Board member, dear Giampiero, he gave a speech a while back entitled, "A Diplomat's Perspective, Global Geopolitics After COVID-19." Giampiero brings a master diplomat's perspective to everything he does. The late Richard Holbrooke said, and I quote this, "Diplomacy is like jazz. Diplomacy is like jazz. Endless variations on a theme," unquote. Giampiero hits all the notes. He's an improvisational master in everything he's done through his history. And I'm going to list just 5 ingredients to his success. The first is that he's a keen listener. When I was perhaps rude to my mother as I was growing up, showing her too much lip, she said to me, "Freddie," my name's Fred, she called me Freddie, she said, "You know, your mouth is very active, but it's your ears that are going to bring you success." I never forgot that. Giampiero, the first time I met him, with all of his experience, with all of his accomplishments, he just listened to me. He was listening, he was using his ears. And I asked Giampiero, I said, "Is that intentional?" He said, "Of course it is." He said, "If you listen as a diplomat, first you learn, and secondarily, you don't give away your game." Wow. Henry Kissinger could not have put it better. You learn by listening, and you don't give away what you're trying to get. So second, he has a lot to say. The manner in which he says it is always well-informed, drawing from his intellect and his experience, and you're going to hear him in a couple of minutes, always soft-spoken. You really have to listen to Giampiero. So he's a listener, and he's incredibly articulate and very careful about what he says and what you're listening to. Third, let me speak to that experience. There's so much, and given this evening, I'm going to leave a lot out. But he was Secretary General of the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That is the top job that's non-political in the Italian system. He was the Prime Minister's Sherpa at the G8 and the G20 summits. But not just the Prime Minister's Sherpa, Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi's Sherpa. So any of you know Italy, that's an even bigger deal. He was the Director General of the Department for Intelligence and Security. Okay, interesting, nice title. You're in the audience, are saying, well, it's another Italian position. This is the head of intelligence. This is the Director of National Intelligence for Italy. These are massive jobs. He's in the room with us. This is a big deal. There's so much more to say about his diplomatic experience from his early days in the Italian embassy, the Holy See. Noel, you sat me by the Vatican this evening. We had some really rich conversations about everything from infallibility to the purpose of, anyway, I won't go there. And then he went to Moscow, and then he went to Brussels, the European community. Giampiero has been everywhere. But he won't talk about it because he's too modest to do that. A fourth ingredient is his linguistic ability. It allows him to navigate cultures. Born in Warsaw because his father was there in 1954 in the worst communist times of Warsaw, and he spent two times there. He was born there. His father was consul. He speaks Polish. He speaks French. He speaks Russian. He speaks some German. He speaks, of course, English, and you'll hear that. A fifth ingredient is his intellect, which he applies as effortlessly in business at Fincantieri and now at Mundys as he does at IFRI, the Italian Institute of International Studies, where he is president. And we have a deep relationship with the Atlantic Council with IFRI. Karim Mesran, who is here, and this gets to the complications of our world. Karim is Libyan, and he's Italian, and he introduced me to Giampiero, and he is our interlocutor with Italy and with IFRI. And Karim, salute to you that you're here tonight, and thank you for introducing me to Giampiero. So, first, the ability to listen. Second, the talent to articulate skillfully. Third, a magnificent diplomatic experience. Fourth, the linguistic ability that allows him to manipulate. I meant to say navigate, not manipulate different cultures. And fifth, a rapier intellect that is applied in an enormously soft-spoken manner. These are the skills of a masterful diplomat. As Holbrook would put it, a jazz improvisationalist, a musician who hits all the right notes. So it's now my honor to present to you and to present to him his honor, Ambassador Giampiero Massolo, for this deeply deserved honor. Giampiero.
Well, dear Fred, had I to take you seriously, I would have to go out of this room as soon as possible, because I'm really not sure that I can stand to the challenge that you put in front of me. But I want to thank you, first of all, the Foreign Policy Association, Chairman Fernandez, President Latif, dear Noel. I wish to thank all the friends, some of them really long-standing friends that I see here sitting at the tables, and to all of you that were so kind to come to hear not only me, but also the other honorees. And I must say that this award, which humbles me deeply, that the Foreign Policy Association decided to honor me with, actually reflects my double professional life. On one side, a civil servant, a diplomat. On the other side, chairman of corporations. Fred named, I think, Giampiero named Mundys. I will say a word about Mundys in a moment. I think that the link between all this is that in a way or in another, you always serve national interests, be it in the private sector, be it in the companies that are participated by your government, by the state, be it being a civil servant. There is always this link, this fil rouge, actually. Mundys, it's an incredible company. It's a company that joins its ability in managing huge infrastructures all over the world, roads, airports, and so on and so far. And also a company that tries to ease people's life by promoting integrated and sustainable mobility. And we try to do it once again with the people, with our people, for the people, making sustainability not just an empty word, but trying to incorporate sustainability in our model of business, which is not evident. It's a huge, actually, a huge problem. But anyway, we try to live with it. And this is to say that if you honor somebody with a reward dealing with social corporate responsibility, if it happens that this somebody also served as a diplomat, so as a public officer, I think that you are actually recognizing his double personality in a way. And I would like to stress here, it already has been said by the previous awardee, that companies and world governance go increasingly together. Actually, we were accustomed to live in the era of convenience, an era in which companies were just looking for opportunities in a globalized world, were trying to contribute to value creation, and actually tend to employ ESGs as a twofold way of behaving. One is to have, let's be frank, an easier access to credit. And the second one was in order to be able to participate in international fora that provided standard setting. This is over. We had COVID, we have wars, both in Ukraine and in the Middle East. We had, first and foremost, a poorly managed globalization. And this changed the way, the rules of engagement also for companies. We no longer live in an era of convenience. We increasingly live in an era of security. And which means that companies are no longer that completely free to create value e basta. They are increasingly called to defend themselves from threats in a narrower world. And moreover, they are responsible increasingly in a shared and collective responsibility to do it and to perform together with governments. And that means that the concept of social responsibility enhanced itself, broadened its boundaries. New responsibilities in a shared governance means that also the meaning of ELGs has changed. It's no longer just ELGs for the sake of ELGs, but it's a way in helping governments in promoting national interests. Of course, also the paradigm changed. Since the environment in which companies and governments participate together in the world governance, companies need to have something in exchange. So they participate in the governance, and they, in exchange, they have a dose of protection. The only thing is that sometimes this dose of protection, as we very well know across the Atlantic, gets a little bit too far. And this is a danger that we have to be very mindful of, and even increasingly mindful in the next years. So this is why I was eager to underline what, for me, means to be awarded for in the name of social corporate responsibility, trying to link all my lives, the professional lives I lived, in one logical and omnicomprehensive meaning. But let me add something. When you'll get out of the room, there will be a small token of my personal and my company, a token of being thankful and a token of appreciation for you for having come to honor me. And this is not just a token. It's not just something like this that you'll find. You'll find a little work of art by an Italian artist. His name is Michaud, and you'll find an inscription in it. The work of art consists of a logo, and the logo embodies a word. The word is deity. Deity means, both in Russian and in Ukrainian, means children. And it is written in Cyrillic alphabet and colored. Why children? What does it mean? Well, in the very beginning of the Ukrainian war, when the Russians were bombing, at a certain point of time, there was a hospital in Ukraine. And in this hospital, many kids, many children were cured. And the Ukrainians wrote in very big letters, deity, in order to make the bombing Russians know that there were children in this hospital and the Russian bombs. Please, let things like this never happen again. Thank you very much.
Well, I think our three honorees have in common that they are leaders, and leaders who are doing everything in their power to help humanity find itself. Let's give them one more round of applause. With that, thank you all for coming. Get home safe. We stand adjourned.